It's rare to find a new sea fishing mark along the UK's coastline. However, Hastings Pier could qualify, having been without sea fishing for over 10 years. The pier has reopened, and some good work by local angling shop Paul's Tackle has brought sea fishing back to its historic venue. The angling heritage of the pier dates back to Victorian times. Some of these catches were truly remarkable by today's standards. Tope and conger have been landed from the boards, along with fine catches of plaice. The pier was refurbished, costing £14 million, and it now has an uncluttered blank canvas feel. It is a little odd to be casting next to an outside art installation. However, it's what's in casting distance around the pier that's of interest here, and there are a multitude of species that can be landed by a gentle lob from the pier above. Good-sized plaice are possible, and they don't require casting far. Movement is important too. With a bit of tidal movement, you could be in a good position to have plaice over £2. Consider using barbless hooks, as undersized fish and dabs are also easier to unhook. Dabs themselves are worth targeting from late spring, and there's also a good chance of a flounder, with distance casting not necessary from this venue. Clear conditions work best with fresh lug. Smaller baits will pick up the dreaded weaver fish, and this should not be brought onto the pier, but ideally shaken off the hook. Good luck with that one. Mullet are often seen cruising below in summer, bringing a whole new frustration to angling. If you know how best to land these fish from this venue, then please help us out in the comments section below. Don't forget your drop net for the larger species you may encounter, and casting away from the structure will ensure tackle losses are kept to a minimum. 4-ounce grips are fine unless moving a bait around for the plaice, but in larger tides, when the tide pushes, a 6-ounce would be a better bet. Other species may include smoothhound and whiting from October, conger at night, silver eels, and even a chance of pollock, sea trout, or, a winter rarity, the codling. At present, angling is only permitted on one section from the eastern side, but fishing here is good enough. If travelling by car to Hastings Pier, the top 2 places to park are the seafront and up behind the White Rock Theatre. There's a parking spot 100 yards up the hill on the left. There are a number of alternatives here, and it's worth watching out for the various festivals that take place in the town, leading to road closures. To fish the pier, you have to book in at Paul's Tackle, that's situated 100 yards to the east of the pier at 38 White Rock. Here you can get your supplies, including locally dug lug. It's worth phoning ahead if coming down, as fishing permission is subject to change. On a cold January morning, we met up with Level 2 Angling Trust sea fishing coach Brian Pask to get some expert advice on fishing here. Brian runs his own angling coaching company and can be often found tutoring adult and child groups on Hastings Pier and local beaches. He was generous enough to show us the basics that will get you catching fish from the end of the pier.
Okay, just using a standard beach casting gear off the pier today. Got a Daiwa Millionaire Tournament reel, multiplying reel, £15 line and a £60 shock leader, which is essential for use anywhere, especially on the pier with a lot of people around. The rod itself is a 12'6" Century multiplying rod. It's quite strong, but it'll handle just about anything that's in the sea, but it casts quite well, but it's ideal for use on the pier, especially if you're lifting heavier fish up the side. Right, I'm using a 2-hook loop rig today with size 1 hooks. Just going to bait up the hooks now with fresh lug worms from the local area, and it's literally a case of sliding the worm all the way through and presenting it nice and neatly. My personal preference is to nip the tail end off at the end of it and discard that. So basically what we're doing is presenting that as a bait to a fish. And just do the other hook at the same time in exactly the same way. And again, it's spiking it through the end and just filtering the bait all the way down the hook length, making sure the point's nice and clear at the end, and again nipping off the tail end and giving a nice bait presentation. So now the hook link, the loop rig itself all clips on to the bottom of the weight, it's got its own clips on it, as so. That one similarly clips on, and the loop itself is up and over on that. Presents a nice rig for casting straight out without any problems. As soon as that hits the water, all the baits will tumble off and present themselves nicely on the seabed. The idea being that you've got one really low down that will sit on the seabed, and because the pier itself is so high, the second one is still really relatively close to the seabed because it's not a huge drop from the bottom of the where the lead sits. So it just keeps everything quite close to the seabed, where the vast majority of the fish tend to feed at this time of the year.
So if you have fished this pier, please let us know. Having been left relatively untouched, there's always a possibility of some interesting catches. Also, if you have any questions, let us know here at Sea Fishing Marks and we will try and help. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Please take a look at some of our other marks and don't forget to subscribe.